Welcome to the Strategic Life podcast here, where this is going to be a very, very special interview today. It's actually marks the very first interview with a guest, and not just with a guest, but in person, as you'll see here in a second. And really excited to be with this guest here. This guest has traveled literally 75 countries all over the world, doing business, giving motivation, speaking mindset. He's done over 2 billion in sales through his organization. And if I would just stop there, you would be pretty impressed. But there's so much more that is behind this man and what he does. And it's his faith and it's his belief and the way that he just nonstop works to serve others. And we're going to dive into that today. So without further ado, I would love to introduce to you our dear guest here, Mr. Alex Morton. Glad to have you here.
Excited to be here and ready to help some people hopefully change their lives.
Hopefully that's kind of the mission every single time. Well, let's just dive right into it. We'll get into the story of who you are and what you've done. There's
Yeah.
gonna be people that know who you are, but there are also gonna be people that it's first time. But 2 billion in sales.
Yeah.
I mean,
Over 10 years though. Over 10
10.
years.
Okay,
But it's still
okay.
pretty good, I guess.
Just even having the word billion behind that, like, has that been something you could have even imagined at one point, like high school, middle school, growing up, even in college? Like, I guess you went to college
I
too, right?
did, yeah. Arizona State, 4 years, Sun Devils,
Okay.
graduated. A lot of people think I dropped out, but I did graduate. My mom's like, if you don't graduate, I'm gonna slice your throat. So I did get that degree.
Okay. And then so from there, what got you into business, or how did you get to this point today with?
Yeah. I mean, I tell everybody it started very early on for me. I grew up, you know, middle class, upper middle class family. My parents
Mhm.
owned a insurance, organization. Did very well, or at least very well with my paradigm back then. But
Mhm.
I was always interested in business. My dad always had like Robert Kiyosaki books laying around. My mom briefly worked for Tony Robbins.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, for
What
she
did she?
sold, I think, seminar tickets and programs and stuff. And
Really?
yes, yeah, no one really knows that, but yeah, in Houston, Texas.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, I kind of grew up with this like business. You can be anybody you want to be. So at a very young age, I was just really interested in uh, owning your own business. This whole thing about entrepreneurship, watching
Mhm.
my parents run a business and help a lot of other people, elevate their lives in the insurance space.
Yeah.
So at a young age, I was like, this business thing is. I was very curious about it.
So you were exposed to a lot of this when you were growing up, like
Yeah.
how was like uh, the life at home on
Yeah,
average?
so I was born in Houston, Texas. My mom was a manager for a company called Visible Changes, which is like a bunch of hair salons. So her
Okay.
mentors, multi deca, probably 100 million plus
Wow.
now.
Yeah, yeah.
And my dad was, just trying to, figure different things out, whether it was real estate, a short stint in actually network marketing called OxyFresh. It was like mouth spray,
That
like
that was a network marketing company?
yeah, OxyFresh, like Listerine, something
Okay,
like
okay.
that. And then seeing that at a very, very young age. And then when we got to Ohio, it was like, quote, balls to the wall, insurance. So
Yeah.
I tell people at a young age, I saw, work ethic, watching my parents work really 7 days a week for, I think it was like 13 or 14 years. Cause I was in Ohio from third grade to when I graduated, actually high
Mm.
school. And I mean, literally Monday through Sunday, every day, even on Sundays, they would drop my sister and I off at Sunday school. And they would go to the office from like 9 to noon and just bust it, man. So at a very
Mm.
young age, I saw like hard work and normal. That's what it was. Like normal and hard work, that's what it was. Like to me, it was normal to just put in the hours and grind and hustle
Mhm.
to get the job done. So I was exposed to a lot of good
Wow.
stuff at a
Which
very
you
young
which
age.
you don't hear too often. Like, cause even
Yeah.
for example, me, like, I had a good upbringing. I wasn't, like, spoiled or anything, but, like, I wasn't exposed to personal development, which is that kinda balance of, okay, I wasn't in the slums trying to figure out how food is getting on the table,
Right.
but I wasn't in the point where I'm hearing Tony Robbins playing in the background.
Yeah.
So, just my question for you is, because we have parents listening right now, and I do talk a lot on this podcast about like exposing and not forcing people,
Yeah.
and especially your kids. What were some things that you noticed that your parents did that maybe you could give as an, reference to parents listening that really,
Yeah.
exposed you and not forced you to that?
Yeah, well, one of the things was I don't think kids want to do what mom and dad do. So like
Mm,
there was a conversation at one point, because at 18 you can go get your insurance license. And I
mhm,
remember sitting at the dining room table, and my parents like, well, we have this, profitable organization, and if you want, you can get your license and, start under daddy, and
mhm.
then take it over one day, like the Alex
Yeah,
Morton
yeah.
insurance agency. And I remember just like, it's the last thing I want to do is be like in my parents' shadow. So I think it would be wrong to just force feed, like you said, force feed Tony
Mhm,
Robbins, Earl Nightingale, Bob Proctor, but more so maybe have it on in the background. Put
mhm,
some Jim Rohn on,
mhm,
in the kitchen. One of the things that helped, I guess, get me into that world was, Awaken the Giant Within,
mm.
Unleash the Power Within, whatever it is, right? These Tony Robbins books, they were like on like the table like this. So
Yeah.
we'd be sitting there like, watching American Idol as a family, very close family, best family ever, all that great stuff. And I would see like, who's Tony Robbins? Why is this book so thick? What's Personal Power audio tapes? Like I'm getting flashbacks now. We had a basement. I remember going to the basement, curious, and like dusty old, like the little like tape cassettes. Personal Power number 1, number 2, number 3. And I remember like being in 3rd, 4th grade, like sticking it in this Sony
You did.
boombox and
Yeah.
just like this man's talking. And for some reason, I was just drawn to it. So I think parents need to just get more creative
Yeah.
with it rather than making it like school and just, shoving it down your kids'
Yeah.
throats.
Go back to that. I like that. Yeah. Go back to that memory right there. So you put it in the boombox. You heard Tony speak, and I mean, was that the only time that you listened to it, or did you put it back in the boombox and listen more, or
I
what
must
happened?
have. I was listening to that, right? And then I remember getting not Think and Grow Rich. I got Rich Dad Poor Dad, probably around 5th grade.
Yeah.
It was like a purple, yellow, and the white and black book. Robert Kiyosaki's face is on the back cover, and it's like Rich Dad Poor Dad. My dad's like, you should read that to learn about how to really live a great life, not just
Mhm.
the stuff they're going to teach you in school. Nothing's wrong with having jobs, but my
Mhm.
dad and my mom always said in life, if you want to really have some nice things in your life and be able to travel and do amazing things, you need to make money. And one of the best ways to make, a substantial amount of money is owning your own business. So it
Mhm.
was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Funny enough, Donald Trump, one of his books,
Okay.
Think Big and Kick Ass,
Really?
literally is the title.
Yeah.
So like I got a hold of this stuff, and it's a funny story. I was in chemistry class in high school, and I literally used to put Think Big and Kick Ass. I would put it inside of my science
Like
textbook.
you would write that?
No, I brought the book into
You brought.
class.
Oh.
So the teacher saw the chemistry book. True story. The chemistry book. And then inside, I'm reading about real estate deals and stuff. So even though I wasn't obviously not making any money at 15, 16 years old, I started building this like obsessiveness
Yeah.
about just, I think it goes to just winning. Like I was just like, I want to win. I don't even know what I want to win in. But as
Yeah.
a young kid, I was like, obviously the Michael Jordans and the Kobe Bryants. Obviously, I'm not going to go play in the NBA, but I want to feel like victory.
Mm.
And then later in life, it was business that allowed me that, entrance into something where I could win.
Are you only child?
Little sister.
Yeah, little sister.
Yep, Maddie. She's 20, 28 now, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
And you just dated yourself a little bit there.
Yeah, it's okay though.
Why do you think like, and this is a beautiful thing is at the time you never really understand why it happens, but you're a smart man now, you understand, and we're going to go deep into, your learnings from Bob Proctor and reverse engineering things.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you reverse engineered your winning factor of why you were like that. Why was that? Like why were you just naturally like that?
I mean, one of my earliest memories of like my parents' insurance agency stuff was they did all these like company trips.
Mhm.
So I remember them taking like Maddie and I to Cancun or Cabo or Vegas, and these different agents would like be excited to come like meet like Mark and Sandy's like 13-year-old, 14-year-old son.
Mhm.
And people would tell me like how great my parents were. And I didn't understand, like, your dad, like, I remember this family, his name was Rob Dunn, real name, real person.
Yeah.
I think he made like $1 million
Shout
a
out to
year.
Rob Dunn,
There you
by the
go.
way.
Like $1 million a year or so with my parents. I remember his face was just so like, man, your dad changed my life. So I was like hearing this like change my life mantra thing at a young age. So I was like, that's pretty cool. So like we're in Mexico at this nice
Mhm.
hotel, and people are saying like my parents changed their lives, right? So like, and I started to associate like helping people, serving others,
Mm.
winning money at a young age. I wasn't interested in insurance, but I started to really get again curious about different businesses, endeavors, sectors of the marketplace. Like, what can I go do to build my own name? And one of the things that is still very important to me today, I don't want to say pride because they always say like before the downfall was like massive amounts of pride,
Right.
but very prideful in like being like a couple generations after the Holocaust
Mhm.
survivors on my dad's side, and then my mom's side, the Armenian genocide. So as a kid, this is a whole other
Yeah,
conversation, but
please. Yeah.
as a kid, it was like drilled into our brains. You come from a long line of
Mm.
survivors, and your great
Mhm.
grandparents had to cross a river, and the Turkish soldiers came in with a bayonet and stabbed, their brothers and sisters in front of them, and you're here because they survived, so you got to make it happen.
So was that more of like a positive thing that like these people were they trying to make you feel better and like say go for this or were they trying to make you feel bad in
No, it
the
was all
it was all
positive. It
positive?
was more. It was like a creative way to motivate, inspire. A lot of that came from my mom.
Okay.
Like whenever I would complain about, oh, math's too hard, or
Yeah.
the teacher wants me to come in early, she would be like, stop complaining. Your great grandma walked across a river with true story, two sons, and she knew she couldn't cross the river with both children. So she took my great grandfather, I think,
Uh-huh.
the great grandfather across the river. She had to leave the other baby on the riverbank because they would all just drown. So like I hear that as a young, I'm like, I'm 12. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what I
Jeez.
mean? So that stuff, I still channel that
Yeah.
today.
What do you mean you channel it? Like, and I ask these questions and for you guys listening in because Alex is literally like part of his mantra, part of his company is called Breaking the Code.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into your talks with Bob Proctor, but Alex is very, very intentional, very good with what he does. And we're on the Strategic Life podcast, so I want
Yeah.
to hear what this means. So when you say I channel that, like what do you mean?
Like I always keep it real, open, honest. People that, in my space, it's like I've got like raving fans that love and adore me. And then I've got people that probably completely hate my guts because I
Hmm.
I I go full tilt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like Eric, our mutual friend Eric,
Yeah, yeah.
very early on in my career, he told me this. He said, "You're gonna ruffle a lot of feathers because your message is so."
Mm,
Before 10x was even here, 10, all in, go for it, da da da. And a lot of people, you make people look bad with your work
mhm.
ethic. But I didn't care, and it served me. Amazing things have happened because of that mentality and mantra and all that. But when I say channel, like even today, like before I got here, like I had to go do cardio, didn't want to go do it, and I'm a freak, man. Like I'll go in the gym and I will literally like create invisible. This is gonna sound
No, dude,
invisible
don't.
enemies that don't even exist. And I'm like doing my cardio, I'm like manifesting this European tour that we have coming on. And I'm like, I go the extra mile and I push myself even further because I'm like battling somebody in my mind, but that somebody doesn't even exist.
Well,
But
go ahead.
it's my past self or current self. I'm like trying to destroy who I was to get better and become more aware and keep going to the next level
That's the invisible
of
person?
myself. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm like so like I'll tap into Holocaust survivor, Armenian genocide survivor. In 2014 when something happened business wise and I was getting tweets. I never forget the one tweet that just shook my whole world was I hope you and your family die in a car crash. You know what I mean? So I channel and I teach people don't relive past trauma. Like you want to think about the compelling future. But for me as an individual, the way I'm wired, man, I think about some of these things, and it allows me to break through
Wow.
and go harder. I've never said that on
Wow.
a podcast before, but
We got it
that's
here
the
first.
truth.
That was a lot. So
Yeah,
I want to, I
yeah.
don't, before we go somewhere else, I want to break that down further because I love this. So, okay, going back to you make these invisible people, which you said is your old self. Is that correct?
Yeah, it can be like things I'm creating in my own mind, or it can be these moments that people counted me out. My business professor at ASU said, "You
Uh-huh.
need." He literally go, Dr. Filer, real name. You need to go into something where you can make a living with your hands because you, son, I'm 18, don't understand the basic fundamentals of the economic system. And I'm thinking like, and that's when I was 18, so I was getting my real estate license.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, you know what, go to hell anyway.
Yeah.
But I like channel some of this stuff, and it pushes me because I'm at a place now where, thank God, by the grace of God, very financially free, my wife and I.
Yeah.
So sometimes I gotta find more triggers to just keep pushing me.
So you get very visual with it, like in the sense of, so let's go back to your cardio session because there's going to be people in here that could literally use this today,
Yeah, it's great.
tomorrow, workouts. I'm sure it's business wise as well. But strategically, you are just when you're running on the cardio, are you just like visualizing these things, or how does that
I
work?
literally think I don't leave my body, but I go completely somewhere else.
Okay.
So I'm like listening to either music or personal development. And recently I've been like going so into like Conor McGregor, like highlight reels, or LeBron or Muhammad Ali, old videos of Muhammad
Yeah.
Ali, like just screaming at the camera. I just get so jacked. But I will go, like, for instance, I can be there like on the elliptical or on the treadmill, and I will put myself back into, let's just say, 2015, where a man I once looked up to and taught me a lot of things on a conference call with 4,700 people. Because freeconferencecall.net back in the day, I could see how many people were on the call. So I
Wow.
remember clicking *5 just to hear it. And he literally says, "Don't worry, little Alex Morton got lucky in our company. He is who he is because of our company and our family, and he will probably fizzle out of the industry within the next 6 to 12 months." So I will rehear. I can hear his voice right
Oh.
now, and I
Mhm.
wish nothing bad, or I wish everybody
Mhm.
great and good and all that. But I use these things today at 32. Things that happened to me at 20, at 24. I use stuff then to keep me just on the
Yeah.
ball, because I know what separates me from a lot of other people. Everybody else is just the work ethic, man. Like, I know
Yeah.
I'm not the best speaker, closer, prospector, best looking guy in the world, da, 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 but why are my results here, before I was 30 and now at 32, than anybody else, I think, ever in the profession's uh, history, very humbly and respectfully, is because I've just always pushed the limit. So I want to
Wow.
stay in that mental
Would
space.
you say what you just do right there with the channeling, is that the main thing that drives your work ethic? Or is there something else?
The compelling future drives me
Compelling
more
future?
than
Yeah.
the past. I use that crap, just to like keep going. But I tell everybody, like, I'm gonna leave here and go do this mastermind thing, and I
Yeah.
tell people, everyone. I believe people should have a hero or heroes, and it can be somebody you look up to, you inspire to be like a Bob Proctor for me, right? But the other hero should, in my opinion, should be you
Hmm.
in the future.
Hmm.
So I'm driven by Alex Morton at 35, the father, the husband, the son. I'm driven by like that, like my potential. I'm always like chasing
Yeah.
my potential. And when you're around people for the last, basically my whole career except for 1 year, it was full time and then outlandishly insane amounts of income. And when somebody listens, like, if you're around people always telling you how great and special and amazing you are, a lot of people take that stuff to heart. They read their own, newspaper clippings,
Mhm.
and then they fall off the horse. So my dad always told me, don't let what people tell you all this stuff, they blow you up, but always stay humble and focused. And that's helped me tremendously throughout this whole process.
So good. And you embody that, the humbleness and the just obviously the focus, everyone sees that, but you've evolved into that sense. You've evolved. I know you talk about you haven't always been humble. It just
Right.
says, you know what, like before you get the speck out of someone else's eye, like get the plank out of your own.
Yeah.
And that's the truth for so many people, and especially social media nowadays. We're quick to
Yeah.
judge, but we don't look at ourselves. God, there was just so much that you just shared there. Before we move into where I want to go here, I just want to really, really clarify for like people listening, like that invisible enemy thing is so powerful. And I would probably think that's what helps you with your drive outside of that compelling future. Like that is so cool because you could just be jogging, but now you're creating that fire within you. And the beautiful thing you share too is it's not having disdain, or even if it's someone that you really despise, it's not hate towards them. It's just literally you are finding your own influential things to get you going. Right? You could do this without having to hate someone.
Correct.
And if you do hate someone, then obviously that's a whole nother issue, which it speaks a lot on who you are today.
Right.
But I think that's amazing. Let's talk about the compelling future though, because listeners here and people tuning in, we understand about visions and goal setting, and we're
Yep.
not going to go into the one-on-one on that. But I would love to hear, how do you currently still create compelling futures? Like what does that tactically look like? Are you still every 3 months writing down goals? Do you have a vision board you update? Like how does that actually look in your life?
Oh man. Lots of goals, lots of written down goals. Back in the day, I used a lot of vision boards,
Okay.
before like the Rolls Royce Wraith, or living at Porsche condo in Miami,
Yeah.
or experiencing a $50 million private jet experience. Or some of these different, I like watches. So some of these different watches, it was a
I
lot
could
of,
tell.
a lot of that stuff, like the background on my cell phone. But now, I mean, we have like we have a lot of the material stuff that we wanted. We have that. We're building this home. That's going to be our biggest
Yeah.
expenditure, I guess, financially,
Yeah.
which is going to take a couple years to build out here, which is going to be awesome. But this whole idea of the future, the vision, this compelling idea, a lot of it's mental for me. I'm always thinking about where I'm going. I don't know where I picked it up. Obviously, Bob taught me a lot of different things, like to focus on where you want to go, begin with the end in mind, right? But I see myself, I can see myself physically right now, the way I want to look, like, appear, the net worth, the marriage, that's my like number one thing. And I
Yeah.
tell people that, and I'm like, listen, man, like it is what it is. Like nothing comes before my wife. Like, and that's just the way I'm wired, programmed. My parents have been married for 40 years. My grandparents were married for 60 years. Not to use profanity, but I just don't give anything. Nothing's coming before, her. And a lot of people hear that, like, man, I don't think you would ever say that because you've been so crazy business, but
Yeah.
I've evolved.
Yeah.
And I have good, I got good examples, not just my parents, but like obviously Grant, good close relationship. We've done a lot of stuff together, but I love that guy because it's family. Like he
Yeah.
puts family. He spends so much time with his girls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like I forgot your question, but that's when you get the
That's
good
right.
stuff out.
Yeah.
I just
Compelling
see
future.
compelling future where everything about my life, I see what I desire.
So you're like daily, it's just constantly, you're just always in the going towards mindset instead of a running away from mindset.
Right.
More.
It's that, and then it's also, writing it down. And one of the things that I use is, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am, and I put a goal.
I love this. So I learned that from you, and it got solidified when I read Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap, and he calls it the ultimate success mantra or something like that.
Okay.
But very similar words. But I remember hearing you speaking on stage at GoPro and saying that, and that really stuck with me. So share that again for people to tactically use this, because words matter.
Oh,
right?
100%. Yeah, words create, and we know that. And the problem is with a lot of people is, like the people I coach and work with, I want to make 25 grand a month. But when you say I want to make, well, your want to means always in the future. So you're always going to be wanting to make 25 grand a month.
Mm-hmm.
So Bob, at 21 years old, said, write it down in the present tense. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I am. And this goes deeper into like faith and God. I believe I am is associated with God in a very strong way, somehow, some way. But what Bob taught me is he said, anything you say after I am, it's done. So I'm like, okay. At 21 years old, I'm in my first company. I met Bob at $400 a month. He's telling me this in North Carolina. I don't even know who this guy is. We meet at a water fountain. He comes up to me. He like floats, over to me. He's got white hair. And I'm like, he's floating because he's like half, magical creation.
We're talking about Bob Proctor, by the way. I think everyone knows Mr. Proctor over
Yeah,
here.
and says, you can go really far in this business. And I was like, okay, thanks, man. He's not really. If you focus, there's something in you. You can really do. You
Did
can
he
go
know
far.
anything about you before that?
He may have known a little bit about me, but he was like the guest keynote speaker there.
Oh,
because his wife was in the company.
Okay.
That's how this whole thing kind of.
That's how
that
Bob
was the
Proctor
connection.
And your connection. Okay.
So we built this like friendship, and then it got to the point where if you come to Canada and do some meetings for my wife, because all the young people in the first company, I became like their person, right? So my wife's got a young team in Canada. Come up here, and I'll coach you for free. I'm like, dude, I'm on the next plane, right? So thank God for Linda Proctor. Maybe watching this, right?
Yeah.
That whole thing allowed me to get really close to Bob.
Wow. So when he told you that and he said come up to Canada, what was the actual time span in between? Like how fast?
I went to his Matrix event very fast. I don't know if it might have been maybe 6 weeks.
Wow.
Because he said next event, this is it. And that's where I started to write Dorm Room to Millionaire. I literally started it at midnight on night 2 of the week event. He brought me in front of, it was like 50 people. It was a higher ticket. It was like 15,000 a person, I think. And he brought me in front of the whole room and he said, I'm challenging you to write a book because I just made my first $1 million. And he said, write a book and tell people how you did it. And he made me come up in front of everybody and do like an affirmation.
This was the very first event that you
at
connected?
The event.
Okay.
So we met in North Carolina. I got to know him, and then I saw him speak for the first time, and I knew nothing he was talking about. None of us did. Paradigm, subconscious. I'm thinking like, I just want to make $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Right. But then I got into his YouTube and I'm like, oh, something's like speaking to me, like very deeply, eerily thing. Right. And then we went up there and he made me affirm to everybody, I'm going to write my first book. But back to the I'm so happy and grateful now, he gave me a card and it had, I'm so happy and grateful now, ... And he said, whatever you write down will come to pass. And I've just been using that my whole life. So I used it for my first $1 million and then 10 and then 20 and then 50, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even today, like I'm so happy and grateful now that I've helped 1,000 people earn an extra $100,000 a year by December 31st, 2022. So I can say it's so much energy behind it because every morning, every night, out loud, silently, right? I'm in prayer, I'm in gratitude, I'm confessing the things I want. And I was telling people, watch it, record this video and watch it. In 5 years, I'm going to have a Rolls Royce. I got a Rolls Royce. This mansion, when I was making $100,000 a year, I was talking about building a mansion in Vegas. And back then I couldn't even afford the dirt. Like I went to an open house with my mom, Blue Heron, a big house building company in Vegas. I'm like, Mom, I want to go to this open house. She said, the thing's $5.3 million. Why do you, I said, I want to go to the house. I want to walk through it. I want to expose my belief system to something greater than what I have. So I'm walking around in the kitchen. I literally jumped on the bed in the master bedroom. And I'm like, this is it. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write it down. And now, our land we're building the house on costs, almost, it wasn't 5 million, but multiple millions for the dirt.
Yeah.
And I tell people this because a lot of people say, you know what? I don't believe it. Spiritual stuff doesn't matter. I just want to close more sales. And I'm like, that's why you're not getting the results you want. Because the spiritual side, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am healthy, wealthy, wise, whatever it is. You speak it, you bring it into your physical
Do you consider
universe.
that spiritual, just speaking those things out and being very intentional? Is that considered spiritual, or is there a step further that you're talking
I
about?
consider it spiritual.
Yeah.
I do. My belief is we're spiritual beings
Yeah.
living in a physical body. Energy just is. It never rests. Everything's always vibrating at different levels. I mean, we've had doctors take microscopes and look at dead bodies,
Hmm.
and they see movement. So this isn't like you know, hoopla. This is science as
Yeah.
well, right?
Well, the science backs it up, and that's the thing about just God, and just in my faith is I believe in Jesus and God, and people are like, oh, the science is debunking. It's like, no, science is actually proving anymore, and that's a beautiful example on that. Another example that I love is that when people we understand atoms and frequency and vibration,
Right.
and people think, oh, well, that just proves more of just it's the universe alone. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, that could be a creation of a creator,
Right.
right? Like, if it's
Right.
creation, then there has to be something that created it. And if we know that the Big Bang was a start, which is totally fine, it means that there has to be an end. So there has to be something that is outside of a start and an end. And it's just like so many different things. When you understand that, it only just, assures you more of you being on the right path,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I love that. There's so many different examples, and gosh, we are just, I freaking love all the different topics. Like if you're not jotting down notes right now, if you're not like going to be replaying this, I mean, this is just value bombs.
Good.
So
Good.
I am so happy and grateful that
I'm so happy and grateful now that I am.
now's a key word. I like that.
Now that I am.
Insert goal.
Because when you say I am, you're saying right now.
Yeah.
Like when I was 21, when I would scream in my car driving around campus, I am a millionaire. I wasn't saying I'm going to be a millionaire. No, I am a millionaire.
Yeah.
Spiritually, I am. But physically, it didn't show up yet. But
Mhm.
this beautiful condo began in the mind.
Yeah.
And then it showed up. So guess what? You becoming $100,000 per year guy or lady
Yeah.
has to start spiritually.
And it starts
before.
vibrationally too. It's like even the words, like the word millionaire, and the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions, that's still vibration, even if that's not physically manifesting yet. You have to start with that. So even though you don't have the $1,000,000, that's part of the process. And that's, I think, where a lot of people get a lot of disconnect is they say, well, I'm not a millionaire, and they get that imposter syndrome.
Right.
I do say this is that I believe I am is the most powerful words. When you get that voice in the back of your head that says, you're not a millionaire, like, you ever get that where you say these things and there's like that challenge or disbelief.
Right.
I tell people, and maybe you probably already do this too, as I say, change the words I am to I choose. I choose to be a millionaire. I choose to love life. Like if you're saying I am happy and grateful, but life is feeling terrible, and you
Right.
hear that voice
Right.
saying, stop lying to yourself, say,
Right.
I choose to be happy and grateful right now, because the most beautiful thing, just as much as who you are as I am, is that we always have a choice.
Correct.
And in a moment,
like
you
that.
could choose.
Yep.
So even though you feel like crap right now, you could say, I choose to feel better, because that voice in the back of your head could say, yeah, I guess you could choose that, so it won't argue with you.
Right.
So
Yeah, I like that. We always have a choice, and we know we can
we
make
always have a choice.
a decision just like this.
Yeah.
Change everything. I'm gonna go vegan. Okay, go vegan. I'm gonna lose weight. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Everyone just talk. Just go do it. I love Nike because their slogan is the most simple thing in the world. Like, people make success. People try. I don't know why people do this, but a lot of people try to make it so complicated and complex. And
Mhm.
I study people in business and real estate in my profession, but I also love to study people that have achieved greatness in other things. I love listening to Kevin Hart get
Mhm.
interviewed by
Mm.
Tony Robbins,
Mhm.
Conor McGregor, Denzel Washington has so much stuff. They all talk about the same principles.
Yeah.
The whole Jim Carrey story on Oprah, where he says, I wrote myself a $10 million
Yeah.
check, and then for Mask, I got $10 million for actor services rendered. I'm thinking there's so much proof at this point. Like, I get so animated, and I'm like tired today because I've been doing stuff. But I start talking about this. I just go run 10 miles because there's so much proof of what we try to teach people on, but there's still, for some reason, pushback.
Mm.
And it's like, man, you study the Kardashians, you study LeBron, Tom Brady, the late and great Kobe Bryant, Muhammad Ali. You name somebody massively successful, they will talk about visualizing. Drake talks about visualizing.
Yeah.
Before Justin Bieber, I mean, I could sit here for 4 days. Like every person out there that's achieved this, they're all thinking, feeling, and operating differently than the masses. And that is something everybody watching this can also do and create whatever you want.
So good. You know, a lot of people are feeling quote unquote overwhelmed. They're feeling the noise. There's a lot of push and pull. People maybe are visualizing, they are doing that in some sense. What would your just applicable guidance be on like the visualization process where it's not the basics, but like we want to hear granular. You've learned from literally the best of the best at this, Bob Proctor. What is some little granular tips to be better at visualization? Whether it's when to do it, how to do it, what to think, how to think. Just give some granular tips on that.
You know, one thing, someone can sit in a peaceful place. You know, no cell phone, no Twitter, no Facebook, no Instagram. You can put on a little bit of light music if you want. I think there's actually some like form of 432 hertz.
432 is 432 and 528
Okay,
are like
so
the repair and
right,
deep
something
healing.
like that, or
Yeah.
Beethoven symphony. What's that word?
Symphony.
Symphony.
Yeah,
There
I
you go.
got
You don't have to be smart to make money. I'm just kidding. I used to say that. But sit in a quiet place and just, you know, think and think about what you want and what you don't want. So the whole manifest, visualize. I mean, for me, what I've always done, I mean, since I was 18 getting involved in real estate to 32 now with the different things that, you know, I do professionally, right?
Mhm.
I'm always thinking, and I'm always thinking about the things I want. Because, you know, we have science and we have religion, and they
Mhm.
argue a lot and they fight a lot. But one of the few things they agree on is we as human beings, most of the time, become what we think about.
Mm.
So the question then is, what are we thinking about? So a tactical, applicable game plan for somebody listening to this is, number one, I would get some paper and I
Okay.
would write down life as you would like it to be. This is what somebody told me to do at 21 years old.
Mm.
He said, "What do you want?" And I said, "Yeah, I want more money." He said, "Here's $10. There's more money. That's not what you wanted, right?" I said, "No." He said, "You need to be so detailed. The universe responds
I like that. You
to
gotta be detailed.
clarity, right?"
Yeah.
So number one, writing out life as you would like it to be, right? If you knew you couldn't fail, how big would you dream? All of that great stuff.
Yeah.
And then really building the image in your mind. You know, one of the things that I know for a fact was a big X factor for me was burning the image in my subconscious mind of exactly what I wanted.
Mm.
I mean, even my wife today, I mean, I saw not her, but her in my mind. Like when I do settle, if I'm gonna settle down, it is this or nothing else, man.
How'd you burn it in your mind? Like what do you mean
Thinking.
by
So here we go. Our mind thinks in pictures.
Yeah.
So all the listeners at home, you know, if I said think about mom, everyone sees a picture of their mom.
Yeah.
Nobody sees MOM, right? So we
Yeah.
just mind thinks in pictures. Great. So now sit in a clear, relaxed, calm, environment and build the image in your mind of the person you are desiring to become. Also, a mental movie. I play mental movies in my head all the time. Like this event I'm doing in January, which we're not going to get into details, but the event, the guest speakers, the
Mhm.
staging, the amount of money we're going to, raise for a certain charity, like it's already happened. And I know
Mhm.
it sounds crazy to people because they're like, this guy's literally trying to tell me
No,
like the future already
these
happened.
people understand.
Okay.
You know, or
Because a
these
lot of
are all-
people are
yeah.
like, man, this Alex guy, bro, like,
No, this is the type of stuff we want.
but
yeah.
that's how it happens, though.
Okay.
So I think burning, an image of, your desired, health and fitness,
Yeah.
your bank account, but this mental movie is super powerful. When I'm coaching people in our company, right? They have a goal to get to, 10,000 a month by our next big convention in Dubai in October,
Yeah.
right? I'm going to go do this in an hour. Visualize yourself walking on the stage. Literally, what suit are you wearing?
Hmm.
What brand shoes are on your feet? What's your hairstyle? I want you to look into the audience and see everyone waving your country's flag,
Mm.
chanting your name. And I want you to literally hear the MC saying, please welcome to the stage, Jake. You know what I'm saying? So like what happens is we think about these things, and what happens is when we really think about it enough, we get emotionally involved with it. I know
Hmm.
it sounds not to you, but to a lot of people, it may sound kind of crazy. But every time I take off on a plane, and I've been flying private more frequently now because I'm in Vegas and my CEO's
Yeah.
got a couple jets. But Southwest Airlines or my CEO's G450, when we take off, my eyes are shut. I am visualizing. I'm so happy and grateful now to my family's plane.
Mm.
There's an M on the tail. It says Morton. I'm in here with our top people. Like I feel I was doing this at 22 years old,
Man.
flying on Spirit to go do meetings in farm cities in Ohio, and I'm literally visualizing one day Gulfstream, Gulfstream, Gulfstream,
Mm.
Gulfstream, and it's not here yet, but I'm telling you, man, it's done.
I love that. Yeah, on planes, I always pray before the plane
I
takes
pray
off.
too.
So maybe I'll add that right
I
after the
pray
prayer.
too.
I always pray, and I always just say, just God, just protect every person on this plane and let them be expanded in the way that they serve others when we get off. Because you never know when the last opportunity is,
It's true.
and I just know that it's so grateful. But I love that. I honestly will be doing that right after. I'll be visualizing that. Dude, what you just shared. We're gonna recap everything you just shared there. So the visualization process, I love it because you want to incorporate five senses. Your brain doesn't know the difference between the real world and inside if you
Correct.
incorporate all five senses. So when Alex is saying think about it, it's thinking in those senses. What can you smell? What can you feel? Taste, touch. I remember two and a half, 3 years ago when I was visualizing living on ocean front. This was my first place in California. Then I moved to oceanfront. I couldn't even imagine it, but I would like visualize myself walking out onto the of whatever house and grabbing the rails, looking at the ocean and feel the cold rails, and I would
Yeah.
smell the ocean breeze, and it's not normal at first. You feel weird. You won't be able to do that. But then I got an oceanfront house I couldn't even imagine that would be possible. Another thing that, and I'm sure you can agree on this, is when you visualize as much as possible is to do it first person, right? Like when you said to your people, when you see yourself walking out, like don't see it from like a bird's eye.
Right.
Put
Be in the
yourself,
moment.
be in the moment. So that's a key thing with visualization is and the quickest way that I like to get very applicable. That's why I ask these questions for you. But look at your hands, identify everything, all the hairs, and then close your eyes and see your hands and practice that. And then you could get better and better by doing other things. That's first person point of
Yep.
view. So
I love it.
I just wanted to make sure because there's people here that want to do that. They want to take it to the next level. They are successful already. They are already entrepreneurs, but they need to understand how to take it to the next level. And you've
Mhm.
learned from the best, and that's why I'm really extracting this.
Right.
And it's not just always business too. It could be relationship wise, like how you saw your woman, even though it wasn't exactly what it was. It was basically the essence of that. It could be family stuff. It could be financial.
Everything.
It's so good on that. Let's talk more about the Bob Proctor stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
this is just Bob Proctor is a legend, and he is an iconic man. And here you are going from him randomly complimenting you and inviting you out to personal mentorship and partnership in some sense. Like, just talk more about that. Like, people want to really hear what was it like being so close to like Bob Proctor like
Yeah.
that.
We were talking in his last, couple years and then months, and then we were literally texting when he was in the hospital. We started to discover different things. One of his biggest story that he shares every time he talks was he was given Think and Grow Rich. And we found out the book that he like it was falling apart and all this stuff.
Yeah.
He was given Think and Grow Rich on October 21st. And October 21st is my birthday.
Are you serious?
So there's just so many things where it's like, God stuff, right? We both believe in God and have strong
Yeah.
faith. Like it's like Bob and I was 100% God. So like we broke the
Wow.
whole thing down, right? You had Andrew Carnegie challenge Napoleon Hill to write Think and Grow Rich, go interview all of these, mega multimillionaires, billionaires, and create Think and Grow Rich, right? And then Napoleon Hill got connected to Earl Nightingale somehow, some way. Then Earl Nightingale is like the godfather of personal development, right?
Mhm.
And then Earl Nightingale hires a young Bob Proctor at Nightingale Conab, and Bob Proctor's like selling seminars for Earl. And then from the moment we met in 2011, we talked all the time, and it was a mentor-mentee relationship up until he took his last, physical breath. So, I mean, I learned so much from Bob over the years. And now it's just such a gift to be able to carry on this I don't want to call bloodline, but carry on this knowledge and information. Just go help people. I mean, you get to a point, God willing, everybody listening to this, you're gonna get your car, you're gonna get the house, and you're gonna do your trips, and you're gonna wake up one morning, maybe in Italy, maybe somewhere else, and you're gonna think to yourself, the number one thing that brings me joy and happiness outside of my, wife, kids, is positively impacting people. And when people who don't have a lot of money, they hear that, they're like, man, it's easy for you to say,
Yeah.
BS, you got Rolls
Totally.
Royce, you got a Patek watch, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, man, like, I promise you, because there are so many disgustingly wealthy people. Tony Robbins talks about this. Billionaires who are miserable.
Mhm.
So it's not just the number in your bank account. And I learned a lot of that from Bob because he genuinely loved educating
Mm.
and teaching and helping. Did he make millions on it? Of course he did. Rightfully so, right? But
Yeah.
however, he did it until, his last day. So I could talk about so many principles, but that's been the biggest mentor-mentee relationship, and then we were planning on having our own event. I think he named it the mentor and the millions, or the millionaire and the mentor, something. We were gonna do this big
You
event
guys were gonna have an
together.
event together.
Yeah, we had looking at spaces in Vegas, actually.
Really?
Bellagio, Caesar. We were looking at different venues.
So it would have been you and him back and forth.
Kind of like the passing of the torch. 87 years old, right?
How did that feel? Just even think about that.
It's one of the greatest joys I have, is that whole Proctor at Bob Alex relationship, and it's still here. I can't sit with him physically, but I feel him. I just feel it,
Well,
all
he
the time.
embodies Think and Grow Rich, and Think and Grow Rich talks about the origination of masterminds and how you have the the invisible mastermind, or the invisible board of advisors, right? Like Napoleon Hill would talk about how he would be speaking with these other great names,
Right.
but it's all in his head. But that's like how you just said, Bob's still with you.
Oh my gosh.
What was your greatest memory? Like, what was share us like this an experience, unique, something with Bob?
Yeah, I mean, lots and lots of different memories. But one really stands out. It's like a little funny, but there was a really good principle in it. So we're having one of our company conventions in Vegas, and really hectic, weekend. So I always try to get, breakfast or dinner or lunch or 15 minutes in the hallway, something, because he would fly in and fly out. So I text him. I'm like, hey, before this weekend gets too hectic, can I get a little bit of time? I had some questions. I don't know what I was going to ask him, but I just had some questions, right?
Did you actually have questions, or were you kind of like, were you fascinated about his almost celebrity status that you're like, I just need to like get in with him and just be around him, or were you like just genuinely curious?
Yeah, well, we were already friends at that point because I proved myself to him. Because we met at $400 a month, and now in this moment in time, I was at $40,000 a month. So I was like, I've earned my. 'Cause he's big on results. Like that's
Yeah.
one of his biggest things. I could tell you, like no matter what the conversation was, he would always say something like, "By their fruits you shall know them." What's their result? Like results were, I think he said results aren't everything, they're the only thing a couple times on a couple different, interviews or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
right? But he texts me back and he says, breakfast, period, 8 a.m. period, Bellagio. I'm like, see you then. So I get in there early, like 10 minutes early, right? And I'm sitting there in like a hoodie and sweatpants because the event's
Mhm.
later that
Mhm.
afternoon. And I kid you not, I can see it now. I'm sitting there. I look to my left. There's this big casino walkway. Who's walking down the the path 7:54 a.m. in a full suit and tie? Bob Proctor. And he's early 80s. And I'm thinking this guy, we used to have a joke like Bob sleeps in his suit. Like,
Yeah,
because he was
yeah.
always in his
Yeah.
suit, you know what I mean? Like it's crazy. So here comes like the principal in the story, right? So we get there, we go to like the Bellagio Cafe, a little spot. The waiter comes out, I have my journal, and Bob's just looking at me. Sometimes he would just look at me, and I think back on it, I feel like he was just trying to get a read on my energy
Mhm.
because he had this thing where he could like shake somebody's hand and just tell them about them. And this is on
Mm.
YouTube. People can go watch. Where in seminars he'll walk around and stand up. What's your name? Where are you from? Better to shake your hand, and he'll start talking to you about your childhood, and if I would sell you, I would sell you this way, and your personality's like this. Really, really
That stuff's on
cool.
YouTube?
It
I'm
is.
gonna go
You can
find that.
find it. Oh yeah, you
Wow.
can find it. So the waiter comes out and he says, "Would you gentlemen want a menu? Do you know what you want to eat?" Something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And me, a normal situation, I'm like, "Yeah, I want a menu. Like, I want to see what you guys have for breakfast." Waiter walks away to get the menu. He looks at me. He said, "You don't even know what you want for breakfast. How are you ever gonna know what you want with your life?" And then I didn't understand it at first. And then the waiter comes back and he turns to Bob, and Bob said, "I want 2 eggs over medium, 1 strip of bacon, 1 sausage, and an iced tea." And the waiter said, "Well, sir, the order comes with, 3 eggs and 4 strips of bacon and and Bob said, "Sir, I want 2 eggs, 1 strip of bacon, and 1 sausage." So the principle was, and it's like breakfast, it sounds stupid, but knowing exactly what you want. And he
Mhm.
said, "You're trying to talk to me about becoming a millionaire." He said, "You have to look at a menu to decide what you want to eat for breakfast." He said,
Mm.
if you can't decide, if you don't know what you want for breakfast, you're never gonna know what you want for the rest of your life." And that hit me like, 500-pound bricks.
Man. Right there in that moment,
Just
you felt
I
it?
was just like, whoa, right? Because I'm like, okay, and it makes sense. Like I need to know exactly what I want. So that was a great,
Man.
memory and story. But there's so many. I
One
mean,
one more,
so
one more.
many.
We got time here. Let's share one more because the reason why I ask this is like, I mean, he is a legend. And I think of this and I'm putting myself in your shoes. I'm actually visualizing it and you're such a good storyteller. Like I'm literally seeing that and I obviously we know what Bob looks like, but I mean, I could imagine like, one of my greatest mentors is Tony Robbins. And there's a whole slew of things where it was just like all these perfectly aligned things of just how you saw with Bob and Earl Nightingale and Bob what was the thing that lined up on your birthday?
He was given Think and Grow
He was
Rich.
given Think and Grow Rich. So just cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could only imagine how that feels. What's like one more story or something that's just different that the
Yeah.
people would love to hear?
Something else profound. I believe this was at the Matrix event. So this is when he said, "Come up, do an event for my wife in Toronto,
Mhm.
and come spend a week with me." Because the thing that was interesting and odd was, I guess it's gonna be 2 stories. We were in an elite meeting, so everybody that was making 10,000 a month or more was in a room. And I
Mhm.
remember he said, "Alex, stand up." And I stood up, and he said, why slash how were you able to make 1 million?" Because I was the fastest ever in company history to make $1 million, right?
Wow.
And he said, "Why were you able to make $1 million faster than anybody else in the history of this company?" And I was standing there. I'm 23, 24. And I'm like, I don't even know what to say for some reason. And I said, well, I work really hard. And he said, are you the only hard worker in the company?
Mm,
I said, no. So that's not it. He was like really like pressing me in front of all these people.
yeah.
He's like, give me something else. And like for some reason I reverted to like, well, I was raised by two really great parents that taught me A, B, and C. And he said, you think you're the only person raised by good parents? And here I said, well, no. He said, and he was like, sit back down. So that kind of led to the idea of I couldn't articulate how I made $1 million. Everything I said, he would refute it and say, well, that's what he did, and he didn't make $1 million. So what's the difference? He wanted me to he wanted me to build my self-awareness to understand what happened to me. So he said, come to Toronto, spend a week with me, and I'm gonna help you discover why you were able to do what it is you did, so then you can go teach other people. And that was like the week that I made the decision. I actually wrote it in my LinkedIn profile. This is gonna be crazy too.
Yeah, sure.
Before I got into network marketing, I literally I wrote this at like 20 when I got into real estate. I wrote like it was like your aspiration. I said, after I become a self-made multi-millionaire, I wrote motivational speaker. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I want to be a motivational speaker and inspire lots of people. And I think back to that, like I can't, like it's crazy. I wrote that when I was just trying to like flip little residential real estate, commissions for $500 a pop. For some reason, I'm thinking like multi-millionaire, which that's not even like the cool part. But I'm like, a speaker. Like, where did that even like come from, right?
Mhm.
So I went to Canada, and that's where I made the decision. Once he helped me realize what happened to me, that's when I said, I'm going to teach this stuff to as many people as I can for the
Mm.
rest of my life.
That right there was when you
That
fully like
week.
aligned with his
Yeah.
teachings, and you're like, I'm going to teach
And
that.
ever since that moment, I've just been, I mean, I kid you not, I was listening to Bob on Bluetooth driving here. Like,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things, man. I don't. But I guess that I get that. I mean, that's a story there.
Well, what was the thing he came up or
Oh,
that you
that's
guys
like
found?
that could be a 5-day seminar.
Well, okay, let's keep it really tight tight on that.
I'll keep it tight.
What was when he
One of the-
asked that question? What
One
was
of
it?
the biggest things was building a winning self-image to where it's such a burning desire of this attainment of this self-image you have in your mind that anything in your physical life that doesn't align with where you're going, you kill it.
Bro.
So he said, you just slashed all this noise and hyper focused on this make $1 million before my 25th birthday.
That's it. That literally, and we need to go a little further on that because, like I mentioned, there's a lot of people. I feel this myself every day. The noise is consuming, and it's like you have this opportunity, you're building it, but then this opportunity comes up, and this shining object, and that's good. There's a lot of opportunity, but that's where people build these bridges half full, and you
Right.
go nowhere instead of building the one, like you said, and now you have
The one thing.
the one thing. So what you just shared there, and I that's the first time I've heard of it, where it's having a winning self-image that is so crystal clear that it actually burns the rest, but the self-image is what does that. Talk to me on that. What did you guys, how do you teach that?
Well, that's what he told me I did. And that was one of the things. So I guess the way we teach it now, this thing I developed this thing. I put it on a PowerPoint a couple years ago. It was this idea of desires versus your distractions. Like every day we wake up and we can either choose to, go with and chase our desires or let distractions win. So it's like this idea, like I love sports, so it's like a football game, and one of the teams is your desires,
Yeah.
one's the distractions, and every day, I'm the coach or you're the star player, and we choose.
So what do you do? Do you write down all your desires versus
Yeah,
distractions?
yeah, the goals and the desires of our heart, and then the things that are knocking us off course. I'm gonna go do that right now. I mean, I tell these people, I'm like, listen, what could possibly stop you from achieving the goal you set for December 31st, 2022? Is it too much Netflix? Is it too much video games? Is it you're drinking 5 nights a week?
Wow.
what is holding you back? Because, and I tell people, like people say, they hit me on, oh, Alex is just, he's too intense. There's no balance. He's just, you look at his YouTube videos from 2012. He was screaming in the camera. He's too intense. It's not your whole life. It's for a season of your life. On everyone, unless they got rich, wealthy mommy and daddies, at some point, us men or a woman, right? You have to commit wholeheartedly on your objective.
Yeah.
And it's going to take some sacrifice. Like I remember I was in Nigeria on Mother's Day before. I was in Warsaw, Poland on my dad's birthday before. But now guess what? At 32, I went to dinner with my mom last night. I just hung out with my 88-year-old grandma. Like now I can do whatever the hell I want. So I tell people, either sacrifice now for a
amen, man,
much better tomorrow, or follow the masses and keep getting in trouble.
Dude, that's freaking amen to that. It's like you could be pushed and pulled and do things mediocre, and then you're going to have so much regret down the road. You're going to look at the people that can choose what they want, when they want, where they want. And you know, people justify that too. They try to say, well, you know, I'm happy in this way or that way. But when you have to start to justify, and I see this for, you know what, somewhat successful people. And if you're making more than 6 figures in any business, you're already above the threshold they say for being sustainably happy with the amount of money you're making. Anything more than that is depending on how you want to adjust that. But that's it right there. And the winning self-image and the desires versus distractions, like that's the money thing. And that basically it's another way of rewording it with the not to-do list, right? It's good to make a to-do list or whatnot, but you'll be doing those things for the rest of your life. But when you have a not to-do list and the things of, like you said, the distractions, and you write those out and you start taking out one at a time, that's actually more powerful most cases, because it's easier, or more, actually it's more progressive and creates more momentum when you take away those distractions.
Right.
And one of those will be better than doing 10 to-dos of something else.
Right.
So that's
because
so
every level there's a new devil. I don't know if that was in Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. I've heard that by different people, but for every next level of your life, you're gonna have to conquer and overcome
new problems, new challenges,
new problems,
new headaches.
Yeah, man.
Once the money, I'm sure, and you could actually please speak on this, because you are very financially successful, and you're only going to grow more and more on that. But the money problems technically aren't there anymore. But what have been some new problems you face? Because I want you to paint the picture of, you know, people think once they make that money that they don't have to worry about, they're going to be good, or there won't be as many problems. But what have you personally experienced or realized?
It's not, it calmed down, but I feel like when I first started making, because back in the day they would publish all the income. So there's all those old articles, like Alex Morton achieves $40,000 a month, and then I think it got up to $90,000 a month publicly. Mm-hmm. And you know, people just hit you up for different things. A lot of it was different opportunities and investments and stuff. I've been pretty, I guess, blessed with, you know, not having crazy nagging people close to me, just on me all the time. Some of my closest friends, they've really never asked me for money, which is amazing. But a lot of my close friends, you know, they knew me when I was eating ramen noodles at Arizona State, eating Taco Bell, ordering a water cup and stealing iced tea to save $2. But this whole idea of just make a ton of money and all your issues are going to go away, I mean, it's not true. Yeah. You can hire more people to help you and outsource things. But I just want to say this, just so I hit on it. You know, recently, I guess in the last maybe 24 months, the idea of happiness, I've been breaking down a lot of these philosophies and core beliefs and just studying just lots of different great people in different sectors. And I'm under the impression now where a lot of the things we do as humans, whether it's to strive for money or this car or this, you know, wife or trips, it really does, at the end of the whole road, it points to us being happy. And I don't know. I found that fascinating because I never even thought about the word happy. Like my first, 5 years in as an entrepreneur, 6, 7, 8 years. I guess like when COVID happened to now, I've just been like thinking about all the things and decisions that I make in my life. Just be happy.
Mm.
Like the jet, it's like, you get the jet. Okay, you got the jet, but what's the jet? The jet makes you feel happy. I'm happy.
Right.
If you have a loving, amazing marriage, it's happy. Me going from I was 206, today I was 197. So my goal, I'm so happy and grateful now to be 180 pounds under 12% body fat by December 31st,
Nice.
2022.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be healthy and fit and have abs. But it made me happy.
Yeah.
So I feel like at the end of everything, man, like I think what we're after as humanity is being happy. I just
Totally.
wanted to say that because, we get on social media and we just see so much like just stuff, like chasing this and chasing that and doing this and the chains and the jewel, all this crazy stuff. But it's like at the end of all that, I feel like me and you, like being fulfilled with our lives is when we're in our 50s and 60s, we're doing what we love, family and whatnot, and
Mhm.
we're genuinely happy.
Genuinely. And dude, like you have all the nice stuff. Like, and that's the cool thing about you is you have all the nice stuff, but you truly are happy and you don't let that dictate who you are.
Right.
Maybe in your past, because you speak openly about this, maybe in the past that was everything and that's what was, your identity wrapped in. But like you can be successful, have a jet, you can have the nice shoes and clothes and stuff, but like even if we didn't have that, we'd still be the same.
Right.
We all lived, and Tony talks about this, is we all live in an emotional state. And
Mm-hmm.
every single day, what our state is our being. You could be a billionaire, but if you're out of shape, miserable, and regretful, you're not a billionaire. You're miserable, out of shape, and regretful because the money only solves money problems.
Right.
So it's so good you touched up on that.
Okay, I'm here right now because unfortunately I had a little bit of a technical issue which I couldn't even fathom, and the cameras overheated, which had them turn off and they wouldn't turn back on. So from this point forward, there will be the audio of Alex, which you do not want to miss because he is sharing so many more stories, examples, and things that are going to be well worth it. And you'll still be able to listen to this and see the little audiogram here. I'll make sure this doesn't happen in the future. Thank you for understanding. But without further ado, back to the show.
And I'm also glad that you touched up on the happy marriage.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, man. How
It's
is it?
it's the best thing I've ever done. I mean, it's just, I never thought I was the guy that's like, marriage, whatever, it's old school, 54% end in divorce. And then my dad always said, one day you're gonna meet the one. And I didn't really believe in the one, but
Yeah.
he's like, one day you're gonna meet the one, and I'm telling you, Alex, that's that. And it happened. We're going on 2 years in August.
2 years married.
Yep, my best friend. We went through COVID together. It's just the best, and she's made me a better person / a better man in every area of my life. So they say, like, if you wanna, I don't know what the word is, but I got to give her a lot of credit because, I mean, the truth is when we met, between then and now, because it's not my net worth, it's our net worth has, like, I mean, at least quadrupled, right? Almost 5 times.
Is she an
Almost 5
entrepreneur
times.
as well, or is
Yeah,
she,
she's a business lawyer.
Wow.
And then she does a lot of international real estate, different things.
Luna, right?
Luna, yeah. Very private, so we won't go into like her stuff.
Yeah,
but
no.
She's brilliant, man. She's brilliant. She helps me. She also keeps me grounded.
Yeah.
Because again, it's good to have, because when she goes to all these events with me, and we were just in Guadalajara, Mexico. She didn't come on that one, but 4,000 people like screaming your name, and everyone's wants to take a selfie with you.
Mhm.
That does something to you. And I've been experiencing that now for a long time. So for me, it's not as crazy as to some of the newer guys, but it's always good to have that rock that always keeps it real with you. Because sometimes if you're the richest guy at every dinner table you're at, it's like, you're not growing anymore, right? So she always reminds me, like, there's always, and not even money, just there's always another place, there's always another level you can go to. And she's really just made me realize what's like really truly important. Like it sounds crazy for people that haven't experienced this. But I
Right.
have like more joy sitting on a whatever normal couch with her watching like a Netflix movie,
Yeah.
eating like Uber Eats, than the time I walked into the Dior store in Miami and spent $12,000. Like that's like 0 and that's like 100 on the happiness
Just like the
level.
presence.
It's crazy, you know?
I asked that about her with if she's an entrepreneur or not because, Emily and I, both entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
alphas in our own sense,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people that are like you that are entrepreneurs, successful, and maybe their significant other or vice versa. If it's a woman listening to this, they're an alpha and their husband is like kind of like on the back burner,
Yeah.
a great relationship, but it's a unique thing when you guys are both very, very successful, building things, building stuff together. What have you found, just maybe someone that's feeling this, where there's kind of like tension or stress or
Yeah.
like because of that, like what have you found that is your guys' keys to keeping that sane or
Yeah.
communication?
I'll keep it super simple. I think it's insanely important that the husband and wife or husband and husband, whatever's going on, right? You're on the same page of where you want to go as a unit.
Mm,
Because with that comes certain sacrifices. With that comes certain disciplines. As long as you're on the same page of where you want to go as a family, I feel like whether, it's entrepreneur and then a stay-at-home mom, or it's Sarah Blakely, billionaire businesswoman, and a guy that works a 9-to-5 job, I think it
Mhm.
all can coexist and work, but you got to be on the same page of where you want to go. Like, she knows my dreams.
mhm.
She supports me 1,000,000%. I know all the things she wants to accomplish, and I support her 1,000,000%. Like, people always say, oh, it needs to be a 50-50 in the marriage. But my philosophy is like, dude, I think it's got to be 100-100.
100.
Like, bro, just go all in
Yes.
and everything. And
Yeah.
we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
But I do see in the space I'm in sometimes, like I get that question a lot. Like I'll go speak and then I'll do Q&A. And honestly, man, 9 out of 10 times, every Q&A I do, like an open mic thing, somebody, whether it's male or female, is like, what do you do when your partner thinks what you're doing is stupid or says you work too much? And that's tough because it's like, that's a crappy situation.
Mhm.
But if people aren't in alignment, that's a big thing. Like, I don't know. To me, it would be a deal breaker if someone's like, I don't want you to do all those things.
Right.
I want you to just stay in this place. Like, I'm like, well, that I need to go do what I need to go do. Right? Like Bob Proctor said, if I'm going to be free, I've got to be me.
Mm.
Not the me you want me to be or she wants me to be. I need to be me. Because if I'm not happy and fulfilled with who Alex Morton is, how can I make her or my mom, how can I make another person
Wow.
happy and fulfilled, dude? It's not even possible.
So good. So you said that you need to both understand each other's vision. What do you actually have to do? How does that work when someone says, okay,
I think
understand that.
talk about it. Like we talk, like this house, we're like, where do we want to live? Where do we want to own property? How do we want to raise? Like now we're talking, we don't have kids yet, but we're talking about like, religion and stuff. We both came from different faith and that's our own thing. But like, these are important conversations to have, right? To make sure, again, it's about being on that same page. You don't have to agree on everything, but you got to agree on the big thing. Like, we both have this idea of owning real estate all over the world. We both have this idea of flying commercial sucks. They lost our bags in Barcelona for 3 days. Like, it's just a pain in the, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're gonna grind and hustle until we can buy a friggin' plane.
Yeah.
We're on the same page, right? So I think, again, the little things, maybe, Trump, Obama, all that crap's like, okay, you can disagree and stuff like that. But on the major, like, important deciding factors on where you're going as a married couple / children, basic values and principles, I think those need to be in alignment. Because if not, I feel like there's going to be some big
totally.
challenges.
Absolutely. in your relationship, you know, you're 2 years married. How long have you guys known each other beforehand?
We met in 18 for the first
So,
time, but then she blew me off for like a year. It'll be 3 years as a at least boyfriend, girlfriend slash engaged slash married. It'll be 3 years, October 25th.
okay.
So there you
So
go.
3 years. There's got to be some learning lessons as a man. So if we have a man listening right now, especially, you know, a lot of men are, even though women, if you're listening to this, make sure your man hears this. Turn the volume up if you have to. What was like, let's just say 3 very specific learning lessons or things that you just had to overcome, change, you know, you realized.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I don't know. I guess I'm a Libra, right? So I guess this is a part of my like horoscope thing. So like I keep things in too much instead of just
Mm,
getting it out. So I've done a better job of like speaking my mind. Like if something's bothering me, just say it. You know, thankfully she doesn't really bother me. But if there's ever anything, um, you know, just say it right away instead of just harboring it and letting it like, you know, fester into something that's a really not good situation. Big time open and just being very honest. And I've always been honest, but you know, my past prior to her, you know, I might have been 28, 29, but I was like a little boy. You know what I mean? I was doing immature things. Um, just didn't really regard other people's feelings too much at the time. And I learned from all of that, you know? Like I fell on my face so many times. And with her, it's just like I feel like I've built this person now where I know exactly what not to do. And I've had great examples of, you know, just happy married people and going the extra mile. And I've applied like my business mentality to my marriage, you know, not just with gifts and like jewelry and flowers and stuff, just being there, just trying to be like the best version of myself I can be um for her. So it's definitely, you know, learning learning lessons, overcoming different, you know, challenges. Now it's smooth sailing, but the first, you know, year there was obviously some stuff we had to, you know, get through like everybody else. But you know, I just think being just super open, super honest, like massively, massively loyal. Like I'm crazy with it, you know. Like I do all these events, like and like if a guy wants a picture with me, he can put his arm like lean on me. Like with girls, dude, I'm standing like 3 feet to the left to right. I just don't give a damn. Like I take it so. And people watching this, like some of my closer friends, I never really talked about a lot of this publicly, but like I take it so serious.
wow.
Like with her, I just take it so serious. I'm not playing with that. Like
Because
I don't care. That is the top priority. And that's that. And if people don't, you know, that's just the way I am. And I think by doing that, it's 100% bulletproof.
And you're so conscious about this, and it's probably not. And I've felt this. That's why we're gonna ping on this. It's probably not because, you know, your wife told you, hey, I don't like when you do that.
Not at all.
But it's because you are thinking ahead, thinking, what would she think if she saw a photo of a woman around me, even though it's at a business and even it's complete casual, like that right there is game changer. And it's so cool you do that.
Yep. And that's just one little thing. I just don't play with it at all. I just don't. Because I feel like worst case scenarios, like I guess the worst case scenario would be like being massively depressed. I could lose every dollar, but if we were still rocking strong together, did we build it all back? She speaks freaking 8 languages. She's smarter than every guy I work with. You know what I mean? Like we'd be completely fine. But if something happened with her and I, dude, it'd be devastating. You know? So I just don't I treat that way more serious than a company that did. You know, we did 498 million last year. I put that way over it. That's just the way it is.
Wow, it's so good. So the first one was not keeping things in.
Yeah,
and that's men. And I'm listening right now, actually, as we speak, to Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, Dr. John Gray.
Yeah,
and very, very applicable. But like men keep things in. They're very energy efficient. They only want to say things that are bringing solutions. Women, they need to share and speak. But the problem is that, like you said, it harbors, it lingers. and then you have an outburst, or she thinks that you are you don't like her anymore. We got a little guest here coming in, little Hugo. You gonna come join us?
Hey, buddy.
There you go. So being able to be more expressive, even if it doesn't feel like normal, that's
Right.
really, really good on that. What would be like another specific thing like that that's just that's been very, very helpful, that's also tactical, someone could use at home?
Yeah, everything. I think going through the mental thought process, every single decision I make and action I take, whether I'm in the same room as her or it's okay. I'm in an event, whatever, 10,000 people in an event.
Yeah.
Everything I do, I just think about us. Like it can sound what I just think about, like, is this respectful? Would I appreciate this? Would she appreciate this? You know what I mean? I just run through, and it's not a conscious thing. I don't have to think about it. It's like the 4 levels of learning. I am unconsciously competent.
Yeah.
On
I love it.
how to be as a husband. It doesn't mean I'm a perfect husband, but I am unconsciously competent on the things that don't align with, my morals and values as a married man.
Wow.
Regardless of who I was in my past single little boy phase with her, it's just I play no games, and that's just the way it is.
You guys are like team we. Like everything is like what?
Because
what is
this
it?
world, I mean, the divorce rate increases every year. Celebrities, the Johnny Depp thing. There was another big billionaire in Silicon Valley just got caught cheating after 40 years of marriage. Like, I'm just not going to put time, energy, effort, resources, mental health into something. It just screw it up. And like I said, for my priorities have always been God and my faith, right? God, family, success. And then I teach on, for seasons of your life, sometimes you got to go God, success, family, because success is for your family, right? But with me at 32, like, that is the most like sacred thing. And when that's right, everything else goes right. Like I said, the net worth is 5x.
Yeah.
I owned no real estate,
which breaks
when I met her.
So many people's paradigms right now.
Right. We had zero real estate. Now we own, over 8 figures in real estate. Jeez. Lots and land in Tulum, Marbella. I mean, we're buying stuff in Turkey. It doesn't even matter. The point is like, with the right woman, I guess, / or man, right?
Yeah.
Everything will multiply. I believe that, man. I know, and it's hard because a lot of people gone through bad relationships and divorces, and it's all good and it's all fine. I'm just saying, when it's right, I really believe it is the greatest multiplier for all this stuff. And again, like we talked about it points back towards being happy.
Yeah, I could tell you're just lit up like
I'm like glowing all the time, because
it's fun talking about
good.
your significant other like that, though.
Yeah,
like that's enjoyable. You should be like that. Like I get like that too, and sometimes I feel like it's like, am I being too much because I talk about her and I like to it's not to brag or to boast, but it's you're proud of her, you're grateful for her, and I could tell everything that you just shared is you embody it. But people listening, they just take that, like, don't hold that stuff in. Like, that's so powerful. Be cognizant, unconsciously competent on what you're doing that could maybe make her feel, since women are very emotional. They make decisions emotionally day by day. That's one of the things I've learned about women, is they could say they want to do one thing one day, then you're like, okay, let's do it, yes, and then tomorrow comes by and they're like, no, I don't want to go there or do that. I was like, you just told me. But day by day, they make different emotional decisions, and you got to think about ahead of time, what are you doing? Like those photos, like the messaging, the comments. Like, I'm so cognizant now on social media of posts I'm liking and not liking. First of all, I don't follow any like if you're in a significant relationship and you're following models and people that are not like close friends, and even then it's kind
and
of
they're
like,
naked every day. Yeah, I haven't done that for,
like,
I mean, that was like one of the first things. It was like 3 years ago. Like, we're not, because again, like, once I really got to the point where, like, oh my God, like, I think I'm gonna propose to this girl. Like, I'm like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna make sure, like, I'm freaking, and it's not, again, I don't even have to think about it. Like, I just don't,
And
Yeah.
that's how you know she was the one as well, right?
For
It's just
sure. Like if you're sitting there
natural.
like having to like, oh my God, I gotta unfollow girls and not maybe this girl's not the one, man, which is
Yeah.
also okay, you know? Like I just really believe like when it's the right one, everything's just so it's just like, I don't know, easy, free flowing, seamless. Like yeah, we get into like little things like every other human being, but it just feels right.
Yeah.
Like feeling is the secret, right? Think and grow rich. Feeling is the secret. So I tell people like, what is your gut / God instinct telling you about this person, this investment, this significant other? You know, if people could tap into that, tune into that more, help them make better decisions.
It's great to hear that, especially just knowing originally you were like totally different human, right? And people could be like, well, you know, I don't know what the one is or whatnot, but you're the example because you didn't think you would ever find the one. You didn't think you'd want to be in a marriage, and here you are talking.
And I want to make this is another driving factor. I want to make it cool to be multi-millionaire, crazy, awesome, fun lifestyle, and also be a loving, loyal husband, and then
amen to
soonish
that.
father.
Amen, brother.
You know, like that's what I'm doing. I'm going to keep doing it. And people, oh, well, you only been married for 2 years. I'm like, all right, watch this in 15 years, then, man.
I'll be right there right by your side on that. I completely agree. Make it cool. Make it a lifestyle. Make it behind closed doors. You guys are still giggling and laughing, and it's not just a facade.
Right.
Like so much of that nowadays.
Right.
Man.
Right. Yeah.
Dude,
Rob Dyrdek, friend and also a mentor too. He's given me a lot of great advice.
Rob's
he does so much stuff, and then but every day he'll like send his wife a like a love quote, like little things like that, you know. I'm like, damn, like this guy does so much, and he still puts. That's why I'm like when people say, oh, you can't do both. I'm like, dude, look, Rob's worth 500 million, and nothing comes before his wife and kids.
Yeah.
You know, people just say crazy stuff, and again, we create. Like we can create our own reality. So the reality I've created, the reality that we're going to create together is just exactly what it is we want. And no one has to believe it except for us. That's the way it works.
It's the way it works. That's so good. We're going long here, and I got a few more questions, but I do want to add this one thing. So as I'm reading, I know this is going to help someone. As I'm reading Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, what you said about those love cards. So this is the perception that men have is men when they play a game with women or your woman, there's points on the board, right? And men think that certain things they do has a variable of being like if they do like a 3-point shot, it's going to be worth 3 points. But if they do something like a full court shot, it's going to be worth 10 points. One action, they think it could be multiple points. That's why men are. They want to go and get the car or take them on the dream place or do something big for women, but they don't do the small things. The problem with that, though, and I learned this from Dr. John Gray, is women see every single thing you're doing, no matter if it's you taking them on a trip to the Maldives or you give them that card each morning, as 1 point.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
women don't count it as like bigger amounts of points. That's why touch points and multiple reassurances like a card every day or roses or the small things, because us men, we think the bigger the better. It doesn't matter for a woman. And so just that today I listened to that, changed it. I was like, oh my gosh, it makes sense. I've been thinking about building this big business and allowing for so much freedom with Emily and I to even greater extent, but it's been making me miss out on the small things. And just those cards that Rob sends every day is just a nice reminder of like 1 point, right? It's small little stuff. Do not underestimate the small things for your woman, because that's isn't that wild how that works? How you describe
it is
that?
wild. Yeah, it's crazy, but it does make sense at the same time.
Yeah, we got our little guest over here, by the way. Dude, I know we've been going a little long, haven't we? I got a few questions here as we wrap up here, and then obviously I want you to talk about your book coming out. The show is called the Strategic Life Podcast. How would you describe creating a strategic life? Like, what does that? We good on that, by the way?
Yeah, we're good. It's crazy. Hour 40.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. We've been just vibing here. I like to hear like when you hear the words creating your strategic life, like a strategic life. What does that mean to you?
I think it means planning it out. Like they say, proper planning prevents poor execution. So planning out exactly what you want your life to look like on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, you're going to set daily, weekly, monthly, yearly goals. But I think when I hear strategic strategy, I think about sports, making the game plan, making sure it's the right game plan, and then following through, which means executing the game plan. And that's how you win the game. That's what I would say. I mean, I know that's very simple, but like, again, I think simple, they say you want to, KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
If you can't teach a third grader how to do it, then don't teach it, because most people can't even read at a fourth grade level.
Yeah.
So strategic mean like, what is your strategy? What is your plan? And then execute it every day. And what people got to do is not get so, yes, have that compelling future. Yes, be excited for where it is you're going, but don't get so over there. You forget to take care of today. Like the way I built, with a lot of amazing people, 2 billion in sales, right? It wasn't just this big lofty goal. It was my daily method of operation, DMO, daily method of operation, every single day, executing, prospecting, presenting, promoting every day, 6 days a week for 10 years. I'm going to leave here and go to speak to 35 people in a living room. Most people that make 1/10 of my income, and I know them. Oh man, I ain't going nowhere for 30 people. 200 people in the room, I ain't showing up. That's the difference, right? Never get so big you forget to do the little things that got you big in the first place, right? I'm not sure who said it. Somebody said anybody can make 6 figures once. How many times can you do it? Over and over and over and over, right? Jordan won 6 championships. You can be on a team and win 1 NBA title. He went 6 for 6.
Wow.
So like I'm thinking like this championship mentality, and I think it plays into the strategic the strategic life, because all of these people that achieve great things, they have strategy behind the things they do. Tom Brady says Tom Brady's meals are counted down to the kernel of rice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, wait, say that one more time. Meaning the man's he's by far now deemed the greatest NFL player ever based on everything he's accomplished. And he's over here saying, at season whatever he's in now, he's counting the rice in his meals to gain the winning edge against his opponent. I'm thinking like, if he can do that, can we like follow a few simple things for our strategy, for our life?
Oh my God, dude. And it's what I also call the strategic edge. It's getting that extra rice in or out. People sleep on that, but that's a strategic edge. I wouldn't sleep on it if I was looking at Tom Brady, with the amount of championships he has.
Right.
That's awesome, man. You have a book coming out soon.
Yes. Final touches right now.
Final touches. Where's it? What can people expect? Obviously, we're gonna share where they could find you and all that, but why would someone want to grab this book? Sell us on it.
Well, the first title was gonna be 30 million before 30, but then because of like financial stuff, we stripped that one. It's definitely gonna teach people how to make money, but it's gonna teach people really like the non-fluff, no BS guide that allowed me to get to where I am today. And I'm going to go into a lot of the spiritual sides of success, the stuff that, we don't hear a lot on social media, or in these different events, the stuff that I think really, truly makes a difference. So I'm going into, the first book was Dorm Room to Millionaire. I wrote it like the day I found out I made my first $1 million. And between 2014 and now, a lot has happened. So I'm giving like real, raw, tactical, strategic ways to do certain things.
It's the only way to do it nowadays.
Yeah, but with also, really good empowering, stories and historical proof. The person that helped me kind of craft this whole book, I asked her to go find stories that match and mirror the lessons and principles.
Mm.
Because there's so many skeptics. So I'm like, no, Nelson Mandela. No, Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
No, Albert Einstein. Oh, so all of this backs up all of this.
So hold that. That is good right there. I like that strategic. So you had someone, you told this person to go and do research. You gave them
I wrote the whole book.
So you told them, say, hey, here's this info of what I want you to find as an example, and you told them to go do some basic.
Here are the principles that I wrote about that allow me to earn X amount of money and help X amount of people, blah, 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 blah. Do your best to find proof of these ideas, thoughts, beliefs.
I love that.
And we did it, man.
She found it. She
found
great examples.
And there's there's so much.
Proof.
Yeah.
And stories sell. Facts tell,
stories sell. Yeah.
So this is gonna be like a handbook.
Yeah. We're toying with the idea of the title, but it's gonna be, something along the lines of the secret to knowing it's already done. Like I've been using it's already done for my whole career.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's already done. You say your goal, and it's already done. And it's really how to stay focused in a noisy world filled with distraction. I mean, it has never been noisier.
Yeah.
I mean, even yesterday with the court ruling, I mean, there's just so much out there. And like I say all the time, man, it's tough to be a startup entrepreneur, 22-year-old kid. I think it's tougher. For me, I didn't have I had Facebook and Instagram, but it wasn't so much.
Right.
And the political stuff wasn't so crazy.
So
like Obama just got in, people were happy. We weren't in doing. Now it's just like COVID, and it's just a lot. And if people can't stay focused, you could be the smartest, brightest, best looking man or woman in the world. If you're not focused, you're not getting there.
Dude, every single person needs to get this book. I mean, even just the content you shared on here, the winning self-image still stays with me on what you said, but it's so crystal clear that it burns all the noise. And I love that visualization, man.
Yeah.
So this book's going to help with that.
Yeah.
Well, people are going to be finding you on when you share it. Obviously, I'll be promoting it. Once you get, I want to read it. I'm going to be applying it. I want to see the stories you use as an example. I love that. I always love finding historical stories, so it actually connects the dots between people's thoughts of what they know, and you're trying to teach them. Where can people find you, my friend?
Instagram.
What's the best way to find
Alex
you?
Morton Mindset. YouTube, Alex Morton Mindset. We got a new website being worked on right now.
Okay.
We're taking a little bit of time. But really, we're all kind of just putting a lot of the efforts and energy, because I have like my main business, right? That takes up 98% of my business time is that. And then my brand's like over here. We post every day and stuff like that. But, Bob and I, we're going to do this event together. And because now we physically can't do it, I took it upon myself to do it anyway, and kind of launched my own personal.
You're going to have your own
brand
personal
career.
live events.
Yes, in January 20th weekend. Haven't announced the location yet, but the first one's going to be in the U.S. and I'm going to have some of my special friends
in 2023.
January 2023,
Okay.
January 20th weekend, 2023, in a warm weather city.
Okay.
And I'm bringing some of my very well-known and wealthy and wise friends to give value as well. And, we're going to teach people how to break the code.
I love it.
On everything.
You better.
That's it.
I'm going to be there.
Let's go.
I'm in, like, live event, like, learn from you and all the other people. Like, yeah, without a doubt. And people listening, better stay tuned on this, because
it's going to be cool. It's going to be really cool.
God, the amount of knowledge and wisdom and also the people to network with.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
I'm pumped for that, man.
Big time.
Dude, it's been such an honor. That's Hugo knew he was missing out over here. It's been such an honor. I appreciate you taking all your time here. We have gone way longer than I thought, but I just
hour and 50. I think this is the longest podcast I've done, which it flew by. So obviously you're really good at asking the right questions too.
Thank you. We had a couple stops with the cameras, a little wonky, turning off randomly, but we made it happen. I just got to say, you're always going to be forever known as the very first guest interview on the Strategic Life podcast. People are going to be finding you. They're going to be very, very excited to hear this. There's going to be so much snippets. I just got to honor you, my friend. Like, the knowledge, the wisdom, the humility of what you've brought. It's like, I don't know who Alex before was, and I know everyone has their own progression, but to see who you are, I couldn't even imagine
I
there was an
appreciate
Alex
it,
like
man.
that. And I really, really do respect the way you look at your wife. It's truly admirable. I love the way you described on it. We could probably talk for hours about the way that you just feel about her and all that. And I know a lot of men really need that nowadays. I try my best to embody that and to live by that as well with my significant other. But you're walking the walk, my friend.
I
So
appreciate it.
thank you so much for being on this show.
You're very welcome.
And we'll be at the live event.
Let's
and
go.
seeing
Break
you
the
on
code.
stage.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, that's it. Make sure you guys follow Alex Morton on Instagram here. Make sure you follow his stories. Every day he's posting inspirational content, but even that, you want to see when he's releasing the book, and also get tickets to that live event. We'll keep you posted on that when I find out the details, because I'll be there. Yeah, I mean, unless if there's literally some sort of crazy scheduling thing, I'll be there because I love live events, want to learn from him, want to meet the people. So if this was something that resonated with you, there were some takeaways, message us on social media, on Instagram, Alex Morton Mindset,
Yep.
at Jay Cavron. Send us a message, leave a comment on our post when we put this out here. And last thing is, share this with someone that you know that this could really resonate with. Share it with them. Let them know that this will be one that's worth sitting down to play while they're on the treadmill. To have maybe those invisible enemies like Alex talked about, but instead it's us speaking. So till then, thank you for listening. Go create your strategic life like how this man has. And we'll see you in the next episode.